Shobogenzo Ango. The Retreat by Ihai Dogen. From Shobogenzo, the true treasury of the Dharma-eye. My late master, Tendo Nyojo, the eternal Buddha, says in Informal Preaching at the beginning of a summer retreat, stacking our bones upright on the flat earth, we each dig a cave in space. Directly, we pass through the gate of dualism and grasp hold of a black lacquered tub. This being so, those who have got this ring through the nose still inevitably eat meals and stretch out the legs to sleep, and have been at just this place for 30 years. Because we are like this already, we waste no time in putting tools in place. One such tool is the 90-day summer retreat. It is the brains and the real features of the Buddhas and the patriarchs, and it has been directly experienced by their skin, flesh, bones and marrow. Picking up the eyeballs and the brains of Buddhist patriarchs, we have made them into the days and months of the 90-day summer retreat. One summer retreat is just another name for Buddhas and patriarchs. The summer retreat, start to finish, is Buddhist patriarchs themselves. Beyond this, there is no additional inch of soil and no great earth. A real summer retreat is neither new nor old. It is beyond coming and beyond going. Its dimensions are the dimensions of a fist, and its characteristics are the characteristics of a ring through the nose. At the same time, because we begin the summer retreat, it comes having blocked out space, and no 10 directions are left over. And because we finish the retreat, it goes, tearing the whole earth asunder, and no inch of soil remains. For this reason, when the reality of the start of the summer retreat is realized, it seems to come. And when the restrictions of the end of the summer retreat are broken, it seems to go. Even though it is like this, the fact is only that some adherents to the state of direct experience are each coming into contact with the start and the finish. For thousands of miles, there is not an inch of grass. Give me back the money I paid for 90 days of meals. Master Oryo Shishin says, having trod the way of a mountain monk for 30-odd years, I see 90 days as a summer. To add a day is impossible. To subtract a day is impossible. So, the insight glimpsed by the eyes of 30-odd years as a wayfarer is simply that 90 days make one summer retreat. If we consider adding a day, the 90 days will come back, vying with each other. If we consider subtracting a day, the 90 days come back vying with each other. We must never spring free from the cave of 90 days. The real meaning of this springing free is using the cave of 90 days as hands and feet, to engage only in springing itself. To see 90 days as a summer is a tool of our lineage. At the same time, because the Buddhist patriarch did not personally decide it by himself, the tradition has been authentically received by Buddhas and by patriarchs, rightful successor to rightful successor, until today. Therefore, to meet a summer retreat is to meet the Buddhas and the patriarchs. To meet a summer retreat is to realize Buddha and to realize the state of a patriarch. The summer retreat has long since become a Buddhist patriarch. In this 90 days makes a summer, though the measurement of time is a cerebral measurement, it is beyond only one kalpa, or 10 kalpas, and beyond only 100,000 countless kalpas. Other times are used up by the hundreds of thousands of countless kalpas. The 90 days command the use of the hundreds of thousands of countless kalpas. Therefore, though the hundreds of thousands of countless kalpas realize Buddha when they meet the 90 days, the 90 days are not always connected with kalpas. This being so, we should learn in practice that 90 days makes a summer is just a measurement of the eye. The retreat as body and mind is also like this. The fact that the summer retreat commands the use of the state of vigorous activity, and the fact that the summer retreat has sprung free from the state of vigorous activity, have their origins and have their bases. Even so, the summer retreat has not come here from another place and another time, and it does not originate from just this place and just this time. When we grasp their origins, the 90 days come at once. When we grope for their basis, the 90 days come at once. The common and the sacred have seen these 90 days as their caves and as their very lives, but the 90 days have far transcended the states of the common and the sacred. The 90 days are beyond thinking discrimination. They are beyond non-thinking discrimination, and they are not confined to the state beyond thinking and non-thinking. The world-honoured one preached the Dharma to an assembly in the county of Magadha. Then, wanting to begin a 90-day summer retreat, he said to Ananda, "To the great disciples and to the gods and human beings of the four classes, I am constantly preaching the Dharma, but they do not have reverence or admiration for it. I shall now go inside the Indrasila Gua chambers and practice a 90-day summer sitting. If someone should appear and ask to hear the Dharma, you should preach the following to them in my place. All Dharmas are beyond appearance. All Dharmas are beyond disappearance." Having spoken, he closed the chambers and sat. Since then, 2,194 years have already passed. Descendants who do not enter the inner sanctum have often seen the Buddha's closing himself away in the chambers in Magadha as evidence of his preaching without words. Wrong groups today solely think as follows. The Buddha's intention in closing the chambers and doing a summer sitting is that to rely on preaching with words is not completely real, but is an expedient means. The ultimate truth is the cutting of speech and the disappearance of the intellectual function. For this reason, to be without words and without intellect may fit the ultimate truth. To have words and to have images in the mind is different from the truth. For this reason, during the 90-day summer sitting in closed chambers, the Buddha cut himself off from human traces. The assertions of these people have insulted the world-honoured one's Buddhist intention. If we discuss the cutting of speech and the disappearance of the intellectual function, all livelihoods and industries are the cutting of speech and the disappearance of the intellectual function. The cutting of speech meaning all speech, and the disappearance of the intellectual function meaning all intellectual functions. Furthermore, this story is not originally for the purpose of venerating the state without words. The thoroughly realized body solely drags through mud and stays in the water and goes into weeds, never shirking to preach the Dharma and to save people, and never shirking to turn the Dharma and to salvage things. If people who call themselves the Buddha's descendants say, the 90-day summer sitting is the absence of verbal preaching, I would like to tell them, give the 90-day summer sitting back to me. The Buddha directs Ananda to preach on his behalf, saying, you should preach the following in my place. All dharmas are beyond appearance. All dharmas are beyond disappearance. We should not vacantly pass over this behaviour of the Buddha. In sum, how could we see his closing the chambers and practising a summer sitting as being without words and not preaching? Suppose, for the present, that at this time Ananda were to address the world-honoured one as follows. How should I preach that all dharmas are beyond appearance, and all dharmas are beyond disappearance? Even if I preach like this, what must I do? So saying, he would listen to the world-honoured one's words. In general, the present instance of the Buddha's behaviour is itself the philosophy of supreme meaning, and the philosophy of the supreme state of being without, which preach the Dharma and turn the Dharma. We should never see it as evidence of preaching without words. If we see it as preaching without words, the situation may be described as: it is pitiful that the 3-foot dragon-spring sword is idly hanging on the wall of the Toe household as a weaving shuttle. In conclusion, the 90-day summer sitting is the eternal turning of the Dharma wheel, and it is eternal Buddhist patriarchs themselves. In the present story, there are the words, then, wanting to begin a 90-day summer retreat. Remember, that which is unavoidably practiced is 90 days of sitting in a summer retreat. Those who shirk it are non-Buddhists. In general, while the world-honoured one is in the world, he sometimes practices the 90-day retreat in Triyastrimsa heaven, and he sometimes practices retreat together with 500 bhikshus within quiet chambers on Mount Gradakuta. Through the 5 lands of India, without discussing a particular place, when the time comes, they retire for the 90-day summer retreat. And the 90-day summer retreat is practiced. It is practiced by the Buddhist patriarchs of the present as the single most important matter. It is the supreme truth of practice and experience. Though the winter retreat is mentioned in the Pure Net Sutra, its method has not been transmitted. Only the method of the 90-day summer retreat has been transmitted, and the authentic transmission is immediately present in its 51st generation. Shingi says, itinerant practitioners who wish to go to a dwelling place to begin the summer retreat should arrive half a month in advance. It is important that the service of tea and personal salutations should not be rushed. Half a month in advance means in the last 10 days of the 3rd lunar month. So we should arrive during the 3rd lunar month. From the first day of the 4th lunar month onwards, bhikshus do not go out. The doors of reception rooms for monks of many districts and of temples' lodging facilities are all closed. Thus, from the first day of the 4th lunar month, all monks will be securely installed in the temple building, or will have moved into a hut. In other cases, it is traditional to be securely installed in the house of a lay person. This is the behaviour of Buddhist patriarchs, which we should venerate and should practice. Every fist and nostril, taking residence in a temple, will have hung his or her staff at the place of the retreat. Nevertheless, demons say, the viewpoint of the great vehicle may be the essential thing. The summer retreat is a convention of the Shravaka. We should not necessarily practice it. People who speak like this have never seen or heard the Buddha Dharma. The truth of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is just the 90 days of sitting in the summer retreat. Even if there are pinnacles of the great vehicle and of the small vehicle, they are the branches, leaves, flowers and fruits of the 90-day retreat. Preparations are first performed after breakfast on the 3rd day of the 4th lunar month. Beforehand, however, from the 1st day of the 4th lunar month, the supervising monk prepares boards showing the number of years since participants received the precepts. After breakfast on the 3rd day of the 4th lunar month, the supervising monk hangs the years since precepts boards in front of the common quarters. That is, outside the window which is to the left of the front entrance. The dormitory windows are all latticed. The supervising monk hangs these boards after breakfast and puts them away after the bell at the end of practice. The supervising monk hangs them from the 3rd to the 5th, the time for putting them away and the time for hanging them up remaining the same. There is a convention for writing the board. It is written not according to the rank of main officer or assistant officer, but just according to years since taking the precepts. Those who have been assistant officers or main officers at other temples are each written as head monk, as prior, and so on. For those who have served in several posts, the most important post held should be written. Someone who has served as the abbot of a temple is written as so-and-so, Sado. If a person has served as the abbot of a small temple, but this is not known by the monks, that person will often hide the fact and not use the title. There are also examples of a Saido, if a member of the Master's Order, not bearing the title Saido, but being written as Acharya so-and-so. There are many excellent examples of such veteran monks reposing in the attendant monks' quarters. There are also past precedents of such veteran monks themselves, serving as attendants for the master's robes and patra, or serving as attendants for the burning of incense. Any other post is assigned to a veteran monk according to the master's instruction. If a disciple of another master has come to a retreat at a big temple, even if that disciple has served as the abbot of a small temple, it is a reliable example and a fragrant trace for that disciple to ask only for a title such as head monk, clerk, chief officer, or prior. The vihara will laugh at someone using a title earned while serving in a minor post in a small temple. A person of good sense who has been an abbot, but only of a small temple, will hide the fact and not use the title. The form of the board is as follows: so-and-so mountain temple in so-and-so district of so-and-so county is having a summer retreat this summer. Years past since taking the precepts for the whole Sangha are as follows: the Venerable Kondinya, abbot, received the precepts in the first year of Kempo. Acharya so-and-so, librarian so-and-so, received the precepts in the second year of Kempo. Sado so-and-so, supervising monk so-and-so, head monk so-and-so, guest supervisor so-and-so, Acharya so-and-so, bath manager so-and-so, received the precepts in the first year of Genryaku. Work leader so-and-so, attendant monk so-and-so, head monk so-and-so, donations chief so-and-so, Acharya so-and-so, chief cook so-and-so, infirmary chief so-and-so, received the precepts in the third year of Kenryaku. Clerk so-and-so, Acharya so-and-so, Sado so-and-so, head monk so-and-so, Acharya so-and-so, Acharya so-and-so. The proceeding is presented with respect. If there are any mistakes, please point them out. Written with respect. The third day of the fourth lunar month in so-and-so year, supervising bhikshu so-and-so. Written with respect. We write like this. We write on white paper and write in the standard non-cursive style. We do not use the cursive style, the ancient squared style, and so on. To hang the boards, we attach tapes of about the width of 2 grains of rice to the top of the paper boards, which we then hang. They hang straight down like bamboo blinds. After the end of practice on the 5th day of the 4th lunar month, they are put away for the last time. The 8th day of the 4th lunar month is the Buddha's birthday celebration. After the midday meal on the 13th day of the 4th lunar month, monks of the common quarters in their own dormitory have tea and cakes and recite sutras. The dormitory chief conducts matters. The provision of hot water and the burning of incense are all the responsibility of the dormitory chief. The dormitory chief is positioned at the back of the common quarters. The dormitory head monk is positioned to the left of the dormitory's sacred monk image. But is the dormitory chief who steps forward to burn incense and to conduct the ceremony. The head monks, main officers, and so on do not attend this reciting of sutras. Only the monks of the dormitory perform it. After breakfast on the 15th, the supervising monk, having prepared in advance one board showing years since precepts, hangs it on the east wall, which is the front of the monks' hall. The supervising monk hangs it above the front hall, that is, in the interval between the pillars to the south of the front entrance. Shingi says, the supervising monk put up in advance the years since precepts board and serves before it offerings of incense and flowers, putting it up in front of the monks' hall. After the midday meal on the 14th day of the 4th lunar month, a mindful recitation board is hung in front of the monks' hall. Mindful recitation boards are also hung in front of the other temple buildings. In the evening, a main officer prepares the local deities' hall with incense and flowers, setting them before the shrine tablet. The monks gather together to perform the mindful recitation. The method of the mindful recitation is as follows. After all the monks have assembled, first the abbot burns incense. Next, the main officers and assistant officers burn incense. The method is similar to the method of burning incense during the bathing of the Buddha. Next, the supervising monk steps up from his or her place and goes to the front, first bowing with joined hands to the abbot, then bowing with joined hands to the local deities' hall, and then, facing north, that is, facing the local deities' hall, the supervising monk conducts the mindful recitation. The words are as follows. We secretly reflect that a fragrant wind is fanning the countryside, and the god of summer is governing all directions. It is the morning on which the Dharma King forbids travel. This is the day on which Shakyamuni's disciples preserved their life. I have gathered together the assembly so that we may pay sincere respects to the sacred shrine and recite the vast names of myriad virtue, directing the merit to the true rulers of all the temple buildings. Our prayer is that with their protection we will be able to accomplish the retreat. I respectfully request the Venerable Assembly to recite. Perfectly pure Dharma body, Vairocana Buddha. Roundly satisfied physical body, Vairocana Buddha. The body of thousands of hundred kotis of transformations, Shakyamuni Buddha. The one who will descend and be born in future, the Venerable Buddha Maitreya. All Buddhas in the 10 directions, in the 3 times. Great Saint Manjushri Bodhisattva. Great Saint Universal Virtue Bodhisattva. Great Compassionate Regarder of the Sounds of the World Bodhisattva. Many Venerable Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas. The Maha Prajna Paramita. The merit of the mindful recitation we totally direct to the dragons and gods of the land who protect and preserve the right Dharma. Bowing, we pray that divine brightness will help us manifest gainful achievements, and that the state of pure joy will flourish and eternally confer unselfish happiness. Once again, I request the Venerable Assembly to recite: all Buddhas in the 10 directions in the 3 times, many venerable Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, the Maha Prajna Paramita. Then, when the drum sounds, the monks go at once to their seats for cakes and tea in the cloud hall. The cakes and tea are the responsibility of the kitchen hall officers. The monks go to the hall, they walk around the hall in order, and when they get to their own places, they face the front and sit. One of the main officers conducts the Dharma functions. That is, he or she performs the burning of incense, and so on. Shingi says, originally, the chief officer should conduct matters, but if necessary, the supervising monk takes the chief officer's place. Before the mindful recitation, a notice should be copied and presented to the head monk. A main officer, wearing the kashaya and carrying the prostration cloth, greets the head monk and presents the notice to the head monk, having in some cases performed 2 offers to spread the cloth and 3 prostrations. The head monk returns the prostrations. These prostrations should be the same as the prostrations of the main officer. The notice is carried to the head monk in a box in which a wrapping cloth has been spread by a novice. The head monk welcomes and sees off the main officer. The form of the notice is thus: the kitchen hall officers this evening will serve tea and cakes in the cloud hall, especially for the head monk and all the monks. We humbly inform you of this celebration of the start of the retreat, and we respectfully hope that all the monks will kindly bestow upon us their illuminating presence. The 14th day of the 4th lunar month in the 3rd year of Kangen, the bhikshus of the kitchen hall, so-and-so and the others, expressed with respect. The name of the senior main officer is written. After presenting the notice to the head monk, the main officer asks the novice to paste up the notice in front of the cloud hall. It is pasted to the left of the hall's front entrance. On the outside wall, to the south of the front entrance, there is a board on which the notice is pasted. This board is lacquered. There is an envelope. The envelope is aligned with the right edge of the board and fastened with a bamboo peg. So the envelope too is pasted up on one side. This board is made according to a formal method. The writing is in characters about 1/2 inch square. They are not written large. The writing on the front of the envelope is as follows: an invitation to the head monk and all the monks, the bhikkhus of the kitchen hall, so and so and the others, enclosed with respect. After the tea and cakes, the board is put away. Before breakfast on the 15th, the main officers, the assistant officers, and the abbot's disciples and Dharma relatives first go into the abbot's quarters to perform personal salutations. If, on the previous day, the abbot has waived personal salutations, they should not visit the abbot's quarters at all. To have waived personal salutations means to have pasted on the east side of the entrance to the abbot's quarters a notice on which the abbot has written either a verse or some Dharma words. Sometimes the notice is pasted up in front of the cloud hall as well. After ascending the seat of formal preaching on the 15th, the abbot comes down from the Dharma seat and stands in front of the steps. The abbot stands on the north end of the prostration mat, facing south. The main officers approach and perform 2 offers and 3 bows. After the first offer, they say, "Now that we are in retreat and forbidden to travel, we are able to serve you towel and flask. We hope that with the assistance and protection of the Master's Dharma power, there will be no difficulties." After the next offer, they express the compliments of the season and do 3 informal prostrations. The Master recites the following: "It is now our great good fortune to be able to practice the retreat together. I also hope, so and so and so and so, that we will be helped by each other's Dharma power, and there will not be any difficulties." The head monk and all the monks follow the same procedure. At this time, the head monk, all the monks, the main officers, and so on, all do prostrations facing north. Only the abbot, standing in front of the stairs of the Dharma seat, faces south. The abbot's prostration cloth is spread upon the prostration mat. So next, the head monk and all the monks bow before the abbot, performing the 2 offers and 3 prostrations. At this time, the disciples, attendant monks, and Dharma relatives of the abbot, and Srimaneras stand to one side. They should not blindly follow the other monks in performing personal salutations. Standing to one side means standing alongside the east wall of the Dharma hall. If strips of paper showing the names of sponsors are hanging along the eastern wall, these monks should stand by the Dharma drum, or they should stand by the west wall. When the monks have finished their prostrations, the main officers return first to the kitchen hall and stand at the place of precedence. Then the head monk leads the monks to the kitchen hall for personal salutations. That is to say, the monks exchange 3 informal prostrations with the main officers. During this time, the disciples, attendant monks, Dharma relatives, and so on, prostrate themselves to the abbot in the Dharma hall. The Dharma relatives should perform 2 offers and 3 prostrations, and the abbot returns the prostrations. The disciples and attendant monks each do 9 prostrations. There is no return prostration. The Shramaneras do 9 prostrations, or sometimes 12 prostrations, which the abbot receives only by joining hands. Next, the head monk goes in front of the monks' hall and to the right of the entrance, level with the southern end of the main officers' zazen platforms. That is, in front of the cloud hall and facing south. The head monk stands before the monks. The monks, facing north, make 3 informal prostrations to the head monk. The head monk leads the monks into the hall, and in order of years since receiving the precepts, they go around the hall and stand still at their own place. The main officers enter the hall, and before the sacred monk they perform 3 prostrations with the prostration cloth fully spread, then stand up. Next, they perform 3 informal prostrations before the head monk. All the monks return these prostrations. The main officers do 1 circuit of and then leave the main hall, and remain standing at their own place, with hands held in shashu. The abbot enters the hall, and before the sacred monk burns incense, performs 3 prostrations with the prostration cloth spread, and stands up. During this time, the disciples stand out of the way behind the sacred monk, and the Dharma relatives follow the other monks. Next, the abbot performs 3 informal prostrations to the head monk. That is, the abbot simply remains standing at his own place and performs the informal prostrations facing west. The head monk and all the monks return these prostrations as before. The abbot goes around the hall and leaves. The head monk, leaving through the south side of the front entrance, sees the abbot off. After the abbot has left the hall, all monks from the head monk down perform 3 prostrations and say, "We are fortunate at this time to be practicing the retreat together. I am afraid that my behaviour of body, speech and mind will not be good, and I beg for compassion." This prostration is 3 prostrations with a prostration cloth spread. After this, the head monk, his assistant, the librarian, and the other department heads each return to their own quarters. Monks in the common quarters, from the Dormitory Chief and Dormitory Head Monk down, perform 3 informal prostrations to each other. The words of salutation are the same as in the ceremony in the hall. The abbot thereupon begins the round of the quarters, starting from the kitchen hall. The monks join the procession in order, escort the abbot as far as the abbot's quarters, and then the monks withdraw. That is to say, the abbot first goes to the kitchen hall. After finishing personal salutations with the main officers, the abbot leaves the kitchen hall and performs the round of the quarters, at which time the main officers are walking behind the abbot. Walking after the main officers are people staying near the eastern corridor. At this time, the abbot does not enter the infirmary, but goes down from the eastern corridor to the west, passing the temple gate and continuing on the round of the quarters, whereupon people staying in quarters near the temple gate join the procession. From the south, the abbot goes around the western corridor and the various quarters. At this time, while walking through the west side, the abbot is heading north. And from this time, retired old people, retired officers, retired assistant officers, centenarians, and veteran monks in private quarters, as well as the cleaning chief and so on, will have joined the procession. The supervising monk, the head monk, and so on walk behind them. Next in line walk the monks in the common quarters. For the round of the quarters, we join the procession according to the convenience of the location of our quarters. This is called the Monks Escort. Thus, ascending the western stairs to the abbot's quarters, the abbot remains on the abbot's balcony, at the front of the abbot's quarters, and stands facing south with hands in shashu. All the monks, from the main officers down, bow to the abbot with joined hands facing north. This bow should be especially deep. The abbot returns the bow. The monks withdraw. My late master would not lead the monks to the abbot's quarters. When he reached the Dharma hall, he would stand in front of the steps to the Dharma seat, facing south, with hands in shashu. The monks would bow with joined hands and withdraw. This is an ancient form. After this, monks perform personal salutations as each pleases. Personal salutations means doing prostrations to each other. For example, people from the same home district, even several tens of them, perhaps in the illuminated hall, or perhaps at a convenient place in a corridor, do prostrations to each other and congratulate each other on sharing the summer retreat. Here too, the words of salutation follow the method used in the hall. There are also personal words conceived in the present. Sometimes there are masters who have brought their disciples. In this case, the disciples must inevitably do prostrations to their own master, performing 9 prostrations. The Dharma relative's prostration to the abbot is 2 offers and 3 prostrations, or sometimes they simply do 3 prostrations with the prostration cloth spread. The prostration of any Dharma relatives among the monks should be the same. There are inevitably prostrations to the younger and elder brothers of each master. All those who sleep next to each other and sit next to each other do prostrations to each other. There are those between all those who are mutually acquainted or who have practiced together in the past. Veterans staying in private quarters and the head monk's assistant, librarian, guest supervisor, bath manager, and so on, should visit each other's quarters and perform prostrations of congratulation. Veterans staying in private quarters and the chief officer, the prior, the supervising monk, the chief cook, the work leader, veteran masters, nun masters, lay people of the truth, and so on, also should visit each other's quarters, or visit each other's seats, to perform prostrations of congratulation. When we go to visit someone's quarters, but the entrance is densely crowded and there is not enough room to enter the quarters, we write a card and peg it up on the entrance. We write the card on white paper an inch or so wide and about 2 inches long. The form of the writing is as follows: So-on, Isho and others, prostrations of congratulation. Another form: So-and-so performs a bow of congratulation. Another form: So-and-so prostrations of congratulation. Another form: So-and-so performs humble prostrations. There are many forms for the writing, but the general outline is like this. So a large number of these cards can be seen beside the entrances. We do not peg them on the left of the entrance, but peg them on the right of the entrance. These cards are taken down after the midday meal by the person in charge of the quarters. On this day, the bamboo blinds of entrances to all halls and quarters, big and small, are left open. There is a custom that the abbot, the kitchen hall officers, and the head monk, one after another, serve tea and cakes. However, on a remote island or deep in the mountains, we should dispense with it. It is simply further instances of prostration. Veteran monks who have retired from a temple, and those established as head monks, each in their own quarters, serve tea and cakes, especially for the main officers and assistant officers. Having thus inaugurated the summer retreat, we make effort in pursuit of the truth. Even if we have pursued and realized many practices, if we have never done a summer retreat, we are not descendants of the Buddhist patriarchs, and we are not Buddhist patriarchs. Jetavana Park and Vulture Peak, by virtue of the summer retreat, are totally realized. The practice place of a summer retreat is the mind seal of the Buddhist patriarch, and is the existence in the world of all the Buddhas. At the end of the summer retreat, on the 13th day of the 7th lunar month, the service of tea and cakes and the reciting of sutras in the common quarters is again the responsibility of the Dormitory Chief for that month. Mindful Recitation on the evening of the 14th, and formal preaching in the Dharma Hall, personal salutations, the round of the quarters, and the service of tea and cakes on the following day are all the same as at the beginning of the retreat. Only the wording of the notices is different. The notice of the kitchen hall officer's service of tea says, "The kitchen hall officers this evening will serve tea and cakes in the Cloud Hall, especially for the head monk and all the monks. We humbly announce this celebration of the end of the retreat, and we respectfully hope that all the monks will kindly bestow upon us your illuminating presence. The bhikshus of the kitchen hall, so and so, expressed with respect." The words for the mindful recitation at the local deities hall are as follows. We sincerely reflect that a golden wind is fanning the countryside, and the god of autumn is governing all directions. It is the time when the king of realization dissolves the retreat. This is the day of completion of the Dharma year. For 90 days there have been no difficulties, and all the monks are at peace. We recite the vast names of the Buddhas and respectfully thank the true rulers of all the temple buildings. I respectfully request the assembly to recite. After this is the same as the mindful recitation at the beginning of the retreat. After the formal preaching in the Dharma hall, the main officers say the following words of thanks. We humbly rejoice that the Dharma year is complete, and there have not been any difficulties. This is likely due to the protection of the Master's Dharma power. As humble sentient beings, we are unable to contain our extreme gratitude. The abbot's words of thanks are as follows. Now the Dharma year is complete, and we all thank Chief Officer and Head Monk so-and-so for sharing the benefit of their Dharma power. I cannot contain my extreme gratitude. The monks of the hall, from the head monk down, and the monks of the dormitories, from the dormitory chief down, say the following words of thanks. For the 90 days of the summer retreat, we have relied upon each other. My behaviour of body, speech and mind have not been good, and I have disturbed the assembly. Humbly, I beg for compassion. The main officers and the assistant officers make the following announcement. Brothers in the assembly who are going to travel on should wait until after the service of tea, and then you may leave as you please. This custom is more fundamental than the ages before and after King Majestic Sound. Buddhist patriarchs attach importance to only this. Non-Buddhists and heavenly demons never disturb only this. Throughout the 3 countries, not a single descendant of the Buddhist patriarch ever fails to practice it, but non-Buddhists never learn it. It is the Buddhist patriarch's one great original hope. Therefore, from the morning of attainment of the truth until the evening of nirvana, he proclaims only the meaning of the retreat. Although there are differences among the 5 schools of monks in India, they are all the same in guarding and retaining the 90-day summer retreat, which they practice and experience without fail. Not one of the 9 sets of monks in China violates the summer retreat. Those who have never in their life practiced the 90-day summer retreat should not be called bhikshus who are the disciples of the Buddha. It is not only to practice in the casual state, it is practice and experience of the realized state. The all-enlightened, world-honoured one, indeed, has practiced and experienced it through his whole life, without missing a single summer. Remember, it is the Buddha's experience in the realized state. A person who, nevertheless, does not practice and experience the 90-day summer retreat, and yet says, I may be a descendant of the Buddhist patriarch is laughable and is a stupid person unworthy of laughter. Do not even listen to the words of people who speak like this. Do not talk with them. Do not sit with them. Do not walk with them on the same path. For in the Buddha Dharma, we treat evil people through the method of silence. We must just understand, maintain, and rely upon the 90-day summer retreat as the Buddhist patriarch himself. Its authentic transmission extends from the 7 Buddhas to Mahakasyapa, and 28 patriarchs in India who have authentically transmitted it from rightful ancestor to rightful ancestor. The 28th patriarch personally manifested himself in China and caused Great Master Taiso Shoshu Fugaku, the 2nd patriarch, to receive its authentic transmission. Since the 2nd patriarch, it has been authentically transmitted from rightful successor to rightful successor, and it has been authentically transmitted to the present day. Having gone into China in the order of a Buddhist patriarch, I directly received its authentic transmission, and I am performing its authentic transmission in Japan. Now that we have actually practiced the 90-day summer sitting in an order to which it has been authentically transmitted, we have received the authentic transmission of the Dharma of summer. To have practiced the retreat, living together with this person, may be the true retreat. The retreat really has been transmitted in face-to-face transmission from rightful successor to rightful successor since the retreat of the Buddha's lifetime. Therefore, we have directly received the authentic transmission of the face of the Buddha and the face of the patriarchs, and we have immediately experienced the body and mind of the Buddhist patriarchs. For this reason, it is said that to meet the retreat is to meet the Buddha, and to experience the retreat is to experience Buddha. To practice the retreat is the practice of Buddha. To hear the retreat is to hear Buddha. And to learn the retreat is to learn Buddha. In sum, that the Buddhas and the patriarchs never go against or go beyond the 90-day retreat is the Dharma. This being so, human kings, King Shakra, King Brahma, and so on, should become bhikkhus, and even if only for one summer, practice the retreat. This will be to meet Buddha. Human beings, celestial beings, and dragons, even if only for one period of 90 days, should become bhikshus or bhikshinis and practice the retreat. This will be to meet Buddha at once. To have joined the order of a Buddhist patriarch and practiced the 90-day retreat is to have met Buddha already. That fortunately before our present dewdrop life has fallen, we have already practiced the summer retreat, whether in heaven above or in the human world, is to have had our own skin, flesh, bones and marrow replaced by the skin, flesh, bones and marrow of the Buddhist patriarchs. Because the patriarchs come and practice the retreat through us, each person's practice of the retreat is the retreat's practice of each person. This being so, we who have experienced the retreat are simply called 1,000 Buddhas and myriad patriarchs. The reason, if asked, is that the retreat is the very skin, flesh, bones, marrow, mind and body of the Buddhist patriarchs. It is their brains and eyes. It is their fists and nostrils. It is their round form and Buddha nature. It is a fly whisk and a staff. It is a bamboo stick and a round cushion. The summer retreat is not the production of something new, and at the same time it is not the repeated use of something old. The world-honoured one addresses Bodhisattva round realization, the great assemblies of monks and all living beings. If you practice the retreat for 3 months from the beginning of summer, you will abide in the pure state of a bodhisattva. Your mind will leave the state of a shravaka, and you will be beyond dependence on others. When the day of the retreat arrives, say before the Buddha the following words. In order that I, bhikshu, or bhikshini, or upasaka, or upasika, so-and-so, who ride upon the bodhisattva vehicle, may perform tranquil practice, that I may harmoniously enter, dwell in, and maintain the pure real form, that I may make the great round realization into my temple, that body and mind may practice the retreat, and that the wisdom whose nature is balance, and the peaceful natural state of self may be without hindrances. I now respectfully ask, without relying on the state of a shravaka, to practice the 3-month retreat together with the Tathagatas of the 10 directions and the great bodhisattvas. By virtue of enacting the great causes of the supreme and fine truth of the bodhisattva, I will not be involved with others. Good sons, this is called a bodhisattva's manifestation of the retreat. Thus, bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasakas, upasikas, whenever they arrive at the 3 months of the retreat, inevitably enact the great causes of the supreme and fine truth together with the Tathagatas of the 10 directions and the great bodhisattvas. Remember, upasakas and upasikas should also practice the retreat. This place of the retreat is the great round realization. That being so, Vulture Peak and Jetavana Park are both temples of the great round realization of the Tathagata. We should listen to the world-honoured one's teaching that the Tathagatas of the 10 directions and the great bodhisattvas all experience together 3 months of training in the retreat. The world-honoured one practices a 90-day retreat at one place. On the day of indulgence, Manjushri suddenly appears in the order. Mahakashyapa asked Manjushri, "This summer, where have you practiced the retreat?" Manjushri says, "This summer I have practiced the retreat at 3 places." At this, Mahakashyapa assembles the monks. He is about to expel Manjushri by striking the block. But just as he lifts the clapper, he sees countless Buddha lands appear. At the place of every Buddha there is a Manjushri, and there is a Mahakashyapa lifting the clapper to expel Manjushri. The world-honoured one thereupon addresses Mahakashyapa. Which Manjushri are you now going to expel? Then Mahakasyapa is dumbfounded. Zen Master Engo, in a discussion of the ancients, says, "A bell not struck does not ring. A drum not hit does not sound. Mahakasyapa is moored in the main harbour. Manjushri instantly sits away the 10 directions. At the present moment there is a lovely scene of a Buddhist event. How regrettable to miss a move." As old Master Shakyamuni said, "Which Manjushri are you going to expel?" If Mahakasyapa had immediately given the block a crack, imagine what kind of total solution would the other have performed. Zen Master Engo, in a eulogy to the ancients, says, "A big elephant does not play on a rabbit's path. What do swallows and sparrows know of swans and storks? Obeying the rules is just like creating a style. Breaking the standard is just like biting a flying arrow. The whole world is Manjushri. The whole world is Mahakasyapa. Facing one another, each is in the solemn state. What is there to punish by lifting the clapper? It is a nice instance of needlework. The golden dutas have got ridden of all obstacles." So, the world-honoured one practices the retreat at one place, and Manjushri practices the retreat at 3 places, but neither ever fails to practice the retreat. One who does not practice the retreat is neither a Buddha nor a Bodhisattva. There is no example of a descendant of the Buddhist patriarch failing to practice the retreat. We should recognize those who practice the retreat as the descendants of the Buddhist patriarch. That which practices the retreat is the Buddhist patriarch's body and mind, the Buddhist patriarch's eyes, and the Buddhist patriarch's very life. Those who do not practice the retreat are not the descendants of the Buddhist patriarch and are not Buddhist patriarchs. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the present, whether of soil or wood, of white silk or gold, or of the 7 treasures, should all practice a summer sitting for 3 months in retreat. This is the ancient tradition of abiding in and maintaining the treasures of Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, and it is the Buddha's instruction. In conclusion, people in the house of the Buddhist patriarch decidedly must practice the summer sitting in retreat for 3 months. Shobogenzo Ango, preached to the assembly at Daibutsuji Temple in Fuki Prefecture on the 13th day of the 6th lunar month during the summer retreat in the 3rd year of Kangen.